You're sitting in your car in a gas station parking lot, eating a sandwich you bought for $4.99, and you're worth $412 million. Nobody here knows that. Not the guy filling his tank next to you, not the kid restocking the cooler inside, not your own sister, who still asks if you need help covering rent some months. You're not hiding it exactly. You're just ordinary on purpose. The number showed up in an email 2 days ago with the subject line, Q2 summary, final. No exclamation point. You read it once, closed your laptop, and went back to fixing a leaking hose bib at one of your properties. This is what $412 million actually looks like from the inside. It started with a broken air pump. You were 26, filling your tires at a gas station on a Sunday, and the air pump ate your last 2 quarters and gave you nothing. You stood there annoyed for a second, and then, instead of walking away, you looked at the thing differently. Who owns this? You went home and spent an evening finding out. A local vending services guy owned it, along with about 30 other coin machines scattered across gas stations and laundromat entrances in your county. Air pumps, vacuum stations, quarter-operated ice machines. Nothing glamorous. He was pulling in maybe $50 to $90 a month per unit after maintenance. You did the math on your kitchen counter. 10 machines at $70 average is $700 a month. 30 machines is over $2,000, coming in whether you show up or not. You bought your first vacuum station for $600, used, from a guy retiring out of the business. You bolted it into a lease agreement with a car wash owner 2 towns over in exchange for a cut of the revenue. First month, it cleared $140 gross. After the split and the maintenance trip, you netted $91. Your roommate made more than that serving one weekend brunch shift. Nobody congratulated you. Nobody knew. You sat with that $91 on a Tuesday night and felt something quiet. Not pride, not disappointment. But you didn't stop, because you weren't looking at the $91. You were looking at what it proved. You bought a second machine, then a fourth. Then you stopped thinking about vacuum stations entirely and started thinking about self-storage. A tiny facility outside town, 40 units, half empty, owned by a widow named Ruth, who was tired of managing it herself. You bought it for $81,000 using savings and a small loan. The books were handwritten in a composition notebook. Underneath the mess, the cash flow was steady. People don't stop needing somewhere to put their extra furniture, not in a recession, not ever. First year, it netted $34,000. You didn't celebrate. You used it as the down payment on the next one. 9 years later, your accountant, a blunt, precise man named Walt, who has done books for small operators for 2 decades, sits across from you with a folder you handed him. He reads it slowly. 3 self-storage facilities across 2 counties, netting close to $160,000 combined a year. 41 coin-operated machines, vacuums, air pumps, ice, bringing in another $60,000 net, mostly untouched by you personally. A stretch of billboard land off a state highway you don't advertise on, you just collect ground rent from the companies that do. About $40,000 a year, and most months you forget you own it. Walt closes the folder and says, "This might be the most boring collection of assets I've ever reviewed." He means it as mild criticism. You take it as the nicest thing anyone said to you all year, because boring was always the design. Nothing in that folder can be disrupted by an app. Nobody's building a faster vacuum station. At a friend's engagement party, there's a guy in a jacket that costs more than your first storage facility's down payment. He drives a car with a custom paint job and talks about his portfolio, the way some people talk about their astrology sign, loudly, to whoever's nearby. You showed up in a 10-year-old Corolla with a check engine light you've been ignoring for 3 months because it's just the gas cap sensor. When he asks what you do, you say you own a few small storage units and some vending equipment. You watch him do the math on your face in real time and sort you into fine, probably not interesting. He turns towards someone else. That small dismissal is worth more to you than anything else that happens at that party, because the moment people stop watching you, you get to keep doing exactly what you want. People think staying invisible is about humility. For you, it's a strategy. The Corolla isn't a statement, it's armor. It starts every morning and draws zero attention in any parking lot in the country. Every dollar that isn't going toward a car payment is a dollar that compounds somewhere else instead. Your house is the same story, a small 2-bedroom you paid off 6 years ago. Your neighbors think you do okay. They're not wrong. They're just missing several zeros, and you've learned that the moment people know the real number, they stop relating to you and start relating to what you have. Requests appear. Distant cousins remember your birthday, so you keep the space quiet. Your best friend since college is named Devin. He calls on random Tuesdays with no agenda, just to talk. 6 months ago, one of those calls had something underneath it. He'd spent 3 years building a small food prep business, real following, a line out the door at his weekend pop-ups, and he wanted to lease his first real kitchen space. He needed $42,000. You could have sent it before he finished the sentence, and you wouldn't have felt it. 42,000 is about 6 days of what your properties generate on their own, but you didn't send it. You listened, and you sat with the specific discomfort of knowing exactly what you could do and choosing not to do it. Because money handed to someone who isn't structurally ready doesn't fix the problem. It just buys them a faster, more expensive version of the same lesson. So instead, you asked if you could come by Saturday. You sat at his kitchen table with a notepad for 3 hours and went through his numbers. You found 2 vendor contracts quietly overcharging him. You asked about the lease escalation clauses on the space he wanted, questions nobody had asked him before. You came back the next Saturday and the one after. By the 4th week, Devin had renegotiated his supplier terms, found a city small business grant he qualified for, and restructured his opening timeline so he didn't need outside capital at all. He signed his lease 6 weeks later and called you the night he got the keys, voice cracking a little. You never told him what you could have written the check for. That's not modesty. It's just knowing whose story this needed to be. The email arrives on a Wednesday morning while you're standing in a gas station, of all places, buying a replacement air filter for one of your vacuum units. Subject line, Q2 summary, final. You almost pocket your phone, but a number in the preview stops you. You read the line twice. Total verified net worth, all holdings combined, has crossed $412 million. You stand there under the fluorescent lights while somebody's truck idles at the next pump. Nobody looks at you. Nobody knows. There's no champagne, no phone call, just the hum of a cooler and a number on a screen attached to a person holding an air filter, trying to remember which unit it fits. You reply to Walt with 2 words, looks right, and go pay for the filter. You don't use a rewards card because you can never remember if you have one. In the car, you sit for a second before starting the engine. 9 years ago, you netted $91 from a used vacuum station and sat with that feeling on a Tuesday night, not knowing what to call it. It wasn't pride. It wasn't disappointment. It wasn't even enough to tell anyone about. This is the exact same feeling, just with more zeros behind it. Which means it was never about the number. It was about the architecture. A system running quietly, exactly the way you built it, with nobody in this gas station having any idea. You start the engine. The vacuum unit still needs its filter changed. Tomorrow, someone in your life is going to spend real money trying to look like they have this. And you're going to notice, the way you couldn't 9 years ago, that performing wealth and actually building it are almost never the same person.